Hey guys, welcome to another video, and in this one I want to talk about how the Assassin's Creed movie and future Assassin's Creed movies could be great, because it's been sort of confirmed that they're going to make a sequel, but sort of. So anyway, I want to get into this stuff because I got quite a bit to plow through, and some of it may be a little bit confusing or some of it may not, depending on where you're standing on understanding Assassin's Creed behind, say, the animations of the games and in the games themselves. So let's get started. So we need implementation of a good of the game stuff. So for example, we need to see the bleeding effect, which we have seen a part of in the trailer, where we see Callum Lynch beating the crap out of some people at Abstergo and doing this really interesting backflip like movement that of course he wouldn't have known from the start because he had no idea that it was an assassin. And if he were to receive that sort of training beforehand, why the hell didn't he try to escape sooner? But you know, that makes plenty of sense that the bleeding effect will be present. And another thing we saw in the trailer was the leap of faith. Now I'd like to see this executed at least one other time in the film, because they used it in the trailer, and I don't want that to be the only time that they used it, because I want to be surprised when I see it a second time. Maybe they use it, maybe add a little bit more drama to it on that one. Maybe you'd say Callum Lynch doing a leap of faith, which would be very interesting, maybe towards the end of the film per se, which would, you know, be interesting, because that'll be another reference to the bleeding effect actually working. But the leap of faith needs to be there. And another thing that I'd like to see is eagle vision also maybe triggered through the bleeding effect, because Aguilar obviously would be able to use this because he never focused on an assassin who doesn't have that sort of sense. So maybe they use eagle vision and Callum Lynch learns that through Aguilar, through the Animus, and uses it via the bleeding effect and manages to use eagle vision to find a way out of Abstergo. Who knows? That would be a very interesting thing to see, though, to see Abstergo like be analysed by Callum through the bleeding effect, so we can find a way out, maybe for him and some other people being held there. Who knows? But he doesn't strike me as the heroic sort of person, so maybe he'll just save his own skin. But another thing that I'd like to mention is Easter eggs, because we're moving on now to the Easter eggs. So of course Connor's bow is confirmed to be in the film, as well as some other stuff used in the past. There are hopefully there will be references to different characters and events from the games, references to Watch Dogs maybe. This hasn't been confirmed or anything like that, I was just speculating. Maybe I'd like to hear some references to Watch Dogs, because it's like 90% chance that they're in the same universe, because everything seems to be pointing in that direction, and I'm like 99% certain that it's the same universe, because you know, all the references in Black Flag to Watch Dogs, like the Bloom and Chicago and whatnot, and all the references in Watch Dogs to Abstergo, you can find people who are formerly workers of Abstergo. So, you know, I think that would be really interesting. And I mean, I don't want that to be blown off as just another joke like the frequently watches erotica thing. So, you know, who knows? I reckon that that'll be a thing come the end of the day, and hopefully it is, because that's a really, really interesting idea that they put some Watch Dogs references in there as well as Assassin's Creed to make it fit more within the universe of the Assassin's Creed games, and maybe Watch Dogs if that is in the same universe as the Assassin's Creed games, which I am like 99% certain that it is. So another thing that I'd like to see is a reference to Xiao Jun. Now this falls into the reference to characters and events, but according to the ones who came before, they posted something that says that a character in modern day descends from a Chinese assassin and uses a rope dart. But I don't know if that was from the ones who came before. I accessed the Animus, to be fair, actually, but I think it was the ones who came before. I don't know. Either way, go check them both out. But still, that's interesting that we might be seeing a character that uses a rope dart and descends from a Chinese assassin, and how it was posted makes me think that that assassin was Xiao Jun, which means maybe we get to see an expansion on what's going on with the boxes and shit, because you know that stuff is interesting. And I mean, come on, it's got to happen at some point in the film franchise. They've got to reference it maybe in this film or maybe in the sequel or what, but I'd like to see some of this stuff. Now let's move on to something that I really wanted to talk about, which is cameos. Now, I'm pretty certain that none of these will happen in the first film, because it's already been filmed and I can't, you know, speculate. I don't feel comfortable speculating things that are unlikely after the film's been finished. But we can still speculate for now, because nothing's out there yet. So I'd like to see a cameo of Roger Craig Smith. But many of you guys will know him if you're a hardcore Assassin's Creed fan as the voice for Ezio Auditore. But if you don't, he plays Ezio Auditore in the games. However, I would not like to see him return as Ezio in the past, because the film is confirmed to be set historically in 1491, which is when Ezio was active as an assassin in Italy, because this is Spain for one. But another thing that I'd like to mention is that Roger Craig Smith looks nothing like Ezio. So, you know, it would be like a voice and a really different face that none of us expected. That and the fact that at this time Ezio would have been fairly young, maybe in his 30s about, and, you know, Roger Craig Smith is like 40 something, so that wouldn't really work. But I'd like to see Roger Craig Smith appear as maybe an Abstergo patient or as an Abstergo prisoner, an irrelevant character, 30 seconds of screen time, no talking, just being there. That would be something that I'd like to see. I mean, I wouldn't mind hearing his voice if he's got a voice cameo, because after all, Roger Craig Smith is a voice actor, not an actor, sorry. He's not an actor, he's just a voice actor, so he doesn't usually go on in feature films that are not animated. So I don't think we'll get to see him, but if we do, I'd like to see a visual cameo, unless he is going to go with his voice acting and does like a voice cameo and doesn't put on the Italian accent, and thus making us think, oh snap, that's Roger Craig Smith. Oh, he doesn't sound like Ezio, but it's Ezio, fuck yes. You know what I'm saying? And another character that I'd like to see return, or actor that I'd like to see make at least a cameo, is Danny Wallace. And I mean, Danny Wallace could make a cameo or appearance as Sean Hastings like he does in the games, because Sean Hastings' character model is designed based on Danny Wallace, who also voices him. So you can easily, they can easily implement that and not fuck up the entire franchise. And that would also open up a good door to maybe references to Desmond, which would branch out the arc of the story a little bit, as well as confirm that the films are canon with the games, which I have a theory that they are. I think that's been confirmed that they are, so, you know, hopefully that'll be a thing, and Sean will be like, fuck you, motherfucker, and come in and just, you know, be there, and I think I'd really like that, to be fair. And another cameo I'd like to see is, of course, BPR Gaming. Yeah. Moving on before Billy sues me. Another thing that's been confirmed is that there will be a lack of CGI, which is good. We don't want it to end up like George Lucas and Star Wars prequels, where everything looked like CGI, that it looked like a 2001 game at some points. You guys know what I'm talking about. The battle on Naboo. It looked like a 2001 CGI game cutscene. It didn't actually look like it was a film at all, and it definitely didn't look realistic. So I'd like to see a lack of CGI, and I did misconceive a lot of the trailer for having a bit of CGI, though they did put in some After Effects, and I took that for CGI for some reason because I'm a retard. But I'm glad that they're going to go with the non-CGI path and only use CGI where appropriate, because Justin Kurzel did say that the film will be based around the human feat, or, you know, like the feats of human ability, or something like along those lines. So the fight sequences and parkour will be realistic, and stuff like that. It'll be realistic. Another thing that was said, another thing that wasn't said, sorry, another thing that I want to mention is the leap of faith, and how that can't be anything but CGI. That'll be a perfect place to use appropriate CGI to make sure that have reference to the games, and leap of faith being possible is in there, because although a leap of faith isn't possible, they could have someone kill themselves to do it if they didn't want to do it with CGI, or they could have someone with a parachute or something, with like a green parachute maybe, who knows, but I think that they'll probably just stick with CGI for that one, or they'll use ropes and they'll have like CGI sort of animations around the character, but have the character movements all being real and filmed there. That'll be something worth seeing, I think. But I have a theory that they might go with a little bit of CGI there. However, in the trailer, they did seem to keep the shape of the character perfectly, so I have a theory that that was an actual person doing that on a green screen with like safety harness and whatnot going down. So maybe it was Michael Fassbender's stunt double, whose name escapes me, but I really would like to see them sort of do that. But I'd like to see as little CGI as possible, which has been confirmed to be a thing, because it's about the feats of human ability, not oh holy shit that's impossible sort of thing, if you know what I mean. Now let's move on to the major point of this video, which is the story. Now the story needs to be good for one, but there's one thing that we've all agreed on, I think, and that's that it doesn't need to create plot holes, because if you haven't paid much attention, some of the games do create a few plot holes in previous games. Like, I don't know, I've just noticed a few plot holes here and there, and I don't want to see any more created by the film, or the movie anyway. So what will happen it hopefully is that they'll try to stick to the lore of the games as much as possible and avoid creating plot holes, because I don't want to have to pretend that it's not canon if it is confirmed to be canon, which I believe it is. So hopefully, who knows, the story will sort of coincide with the plot and will not create any plot holes. Now, the first civilization needs to play some role in the Assassin's Creed movie, not necessarily the biggest role because it's the first of the movie franchise, so it doesn't need to play a major role, but it needs to have some form of mention, maybe a little bit of a role, and the Pieces of Eden need to definitely have a little bit of a place there as well, because why else would they be putting Calamius the Animus, like, unless they're going to make him a super soldier? They need to put him in the Animus for a reason, because they're potentially creating a risk for themselves there because of the bleeding effect, which is just fucking stupid, by the way, on Sturgo's part. But they need to have a reason, and that reason will be a Piece of Eden, because, you know, Templars are obsessed with it. So, you know, that'll be cool to see. Now, the next thing that I want to mention is something that really bothers me when they used it. They started in Black Flag, they used it in Unity, and they used it in the World War I Rift for Assassin's Creed Syndicate as well, and that is the sages. Just no fucking sages, please. I feel as if we've seen enough of them, and although Juno is looking for them for a very good reason, I feel as if milking the shit out of them is not a good way to make it, like, you know, any more interesting, because it won't really divulge from the things that we've already seen. I don't want to see the same thing over and over again, which is sort of becoming a pattern in the games a little bit, I've noticed, but hopefully not. The same thing with the Pieces of Eden, but the Pieces of Eden aren't really they're more milked at the same time, but they're not. I mean, they're milked in the fact that they're used in like every game, but the thing is with them is they're all different and they're not all just the same thing. It's a fucking sage, he's got different coloured eyes and he wants to kill everyone, and he's evil, and he's got Aita's DNA, and there's no difference between them all, and the names and maybe the era that they live in. It's just who gives a shit? I don't want a fucking sage anymore. So, you know, no sages, please. Another thing that I like from the story are likeable characters. In the trailer, if you guys didn't notice, I didn't see Callum Lynch with any smiling or any sort of personality beyond the "what do you want from me?" You know, like the Batman evil, "what do you want from me? I'm angry" voice. He doesn't seem to have an upside from what I've seen in the trailer, and what I've read on the first 20 minutes, he doesn't seem to have much of an upside in that. Hopefully they do find places to put in a little bit of banter, whether it be in the modern day and the history. I don't care, as long as there's a little bit of banter in there, it should be fine. Now, another thing that I like to see, and I mean I definitely like to see this, is historical accuracy to maintain the belief and investment in the setting of the historical period, because if that goes off and creates plot holes in real life, then you'll start to think, fuck, this is not realistic at all, isn't it? Because, you know, this didn't happen, what's going on, sort of thing. So this didn't happen, this is annoying. I can't watch this, it doesn't feel like it could be possible, and it doesn't make any plausible sense, because this didn't happen, and it's creating plot holes within life and stuff like that, and it's really annoying. And another thing that I like to address is that if they are half-arsed with either any of it at all, then, you know, it could go south really, really badly, and I don't want to see what is going to seem to be interesting go really, really south, because they decide to go with half-arsed business with something. And I mean, if they go half-arsed with something, then obviously it's not going to be as great, is it? Because they're not trying their hardest, which they should be doing. And if they don't try their hardest, then yeah, what's the point in making the film? So another thing that I like to learn about is Alan Rickman. We saw him in Assassin's Creed 1, but other than that, we didn't really see him very much. So I'd like to see him sort of expanded on, and the expansion of his daughter in Assassin's Creed movie, please. And for all beneficial purposes, I am going to avoid the fact that they look completely different in the film to what he looks like in the first Assassin's Creed game, because I don't want plot holes, plus, and that could technically be a plot hole, the fact that they look fuck all like each other. So yeah, that's sort of quite irritating, to be fair, to think about, is the fact that they don't look alike. But I'm not going to complain. It's past, it's above me, I can't do anything about it, so I'm not going to try to complain about it, and it's only a small thing, and hopefully a film that is going to be great. So the last thing I want to address is that massive dildo that is they call an animus. I mean, come on, that's the animus now. Is there any reason behind this giant metal wavy arm? I mean, I like the concept, but surely they need to have a detailed explanation for what this is. Otherwise, there will not be, you know, much interest in it, and it will create a potential plot hole, as in why the hell do people use the animus of different games, and then they have this in the movie that looks nothing like it and operates in a completely different fashion and does other things. Like, I mean, you could be relaxing in a chair learning, or you could be waving about and actually physically getting used to it, but they need to have a detailed explanation that explains the update from the previous anime to this massive arm, or vice versa, depending on when the film is set. But the thing is, the flashback was in 1988 at the start of the 20 minutes, and then it cuts to, I think it's 26 years later, which would be, is it 26 years later, or is it 28 years later? Either way, it's 2016, I think, when the movie's set. I think it's 28 years later then, because that would be 1988 add 28 equals 2016. So I think that, I think I got it about right. So yeah, it'll be an update from the previous animus to that, and it needs to be explained. Otherwise, bollocks to the ceiling. I have no interest in it whatsoever. They need to really focus on that, otherwise we will all be really annoyed with the fact that they've just gone and scrapped something. Although I understand why Fassbender wanted it to be a massive arm rather than, say, a seat, because that's not interesting for a film, and I completely agree. I mean, with the games it worked, but with the film it really probably wouldn't. I mean, it works in the game because you can't focus on the modern day and the history at the same time, but in the film I feel as if they're going to be jumping between the two quite a lot, and it'll be boring to just see half of it being Michael Fassbender sat in a seat and the rest of it being Aguilar actually doing some interesting stuff, because it'll be a really bad cut. But I understand that they'll be able to be more fluent with movement and make it sort of make for some more interesting shots if they have the animus sort of, you know, more interactive than, say, the animus is in the games. Another thing that's been mentioned is that the movie will be 65% modern day and 35% historical setting-ish, or maybe 30%, I don't know, the rest of it could be flashbacks or whatnot, something else. However, I feel as if that could mean that we won't be seeing as much of Aguilar as we might want, or it means we might get some time with Aguilar, but the main focus will be Callum Lynch, which is sort of what I want to see, but at the same time I do want to see what the Spanish Inquisition was like, and I'd like to see some very interesting stuff, because the battle in the trailer looks very interesting, and also apparently they have recreated the Inquisition sort of for the film, probably more with like animations and whatnot, but I can't, wait to see like what they do with that. That'll be interesting, but I don't want to have the entire film based around the historical setting. I want to see the focus brought back to how it's affecting Callum, because of course there might be 35% in the animus, but that might just be of the shots that we see in the historical setting, and we might see a further 15-20% of just Callum Lynch flying around the room by a massive bionic dildo. So, I think we can say that we might be seeing a little bit more than what that information suggests as far as Callum Lynch in the animus goes, and we might also learn quite a bit about Callum Lynch and the bleeding effect, and have more from Aguilar than we might expect, because it won't be only just end with him in the animus, because apparently he sort of through the bleeding effect teaches Callum Lynch some skills, for example maybe eagle vision and stuff like that. So that would really make sense, that we might be seeing a lot more of Aguilar than we might expect, which I feel as if, although the focus will still be on Callum Lynch, we'll get enough Aguilar time in there to sort of feel as if the historical setting wasn't just put in there for a time consumer, and that'll be interesting. So let's assume that the film is about 2 hours long, so we might get about, say, 40 minutes of, about roughly 40 minutes of it, in animus historical setting, which is a lot more than 35% might suggest to start with. So who knows, that'll be, that'll be good. Now, you may want to skip ahead a little bit if you want to keep out of knowledge of anything in the film so far. I probably should put that warning towards the start of the video, but I'll put it in the description anyway, so you guys don't have to worry. But if you're watching this far, I'll assume that you want to know this stuff. But I'd like to see what happens with Callum Lynch's father, because apparently Callum Lynch's father killed Callum's mother in order to avoid her being used by Abstergo for her memories, which is because he is an assassin, and we'll see him in assassin hood with a blade, Callum's mother dead, in the same scene, and we'll see what happens there, and hopefully, and maybe we'll see him maybe in the present day, depending on what happens to him. But who knows? Maybe we won't. Maybe we will. Maybe we shall. Maybe we shan't. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? And who cares? I just want to see what they do with this sort of thing. I mean, they can do something with it. They can just avoid it, or they could leave it for a sequel or something. But either way, I'd like to see some reference to it in the modern day sort of scenes where they talk about it, where there's more expansion, more explanation, where Callum maybe realises what his father did, maybe realises the reason behind it, or maybe it'll take a few films to discover through the franchise itself. But either way, I am not that phased. As long as it gets explained eventually within the franchise, I'm going to be satisfied with that. And they cannot leave it unturned, like with some of the stones that they leave unturned in the actual in the actual games, like for example the whole Sage business and like everything. They just seem to like create loads of mysteries. For example, Desmond's son, that they hinted at in Brotherhood to start off with, and then they further hinted at in Syndicate, and then from there they just, they just take, I don't know, from there all they did was they sort of like, they just avoided it, and we haven't had any more information about it, and it feels as if maybe they're never going to round it off. And there are some things that they haven't rounded off in literally ages in Assassin's Creed, and I wish they'd done that sooner. So maybe as long as they don't leave too many things and create too many holes to round off, then they're going to be, good, and it's going to be fine. Another thing that I really want is just, please, whatever you do, Ubisoft, or whoever's behind it, I don't think Ubisoft's behind it, whatever the Ubisoft after the film comes out, please try to expand on certain points and make references to the film in the games, and make the film be more firmly planted within the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole, and hopefully that'll be vice versa for the film to plant the games within its lore, so that the Assassin's Creed movie has references and point within the games. So maybe have a reasoning behind it and references to it in the games, which I would really love to see, to be fair. I mean, I'd love to see say some game related stuff going down, and in future games I would like to see some film related stuff going down, so that the stuff we see in the films may actually coincide with things we may later see in the games. For example, that massive laser dildo animus arm bionic penis smacker thing. I like to see that sort of used in the I would like to see that sort of used in the games in the future, as long as they give us a good reason as to why it's used. But Ubisoft said they might use it, but as long as there's a decent reason as to why, I'm not going to be bothered. I mean, hopefully there will be a decent reason, but who knows what happens. I mean, Ubisoft have a habit for creating branches and never explaining them, so, that could go anywhere, to be fair. Now, the next thing that I want to see in the Assassin's Creed movie is a decent fucking frame rate and no glitches. If you didn't notice, that one was a joke, but, in all fairness, because of the glitchiness of Unity, it'll be really, really, really great if they decided that they'd make fun of it for maybe, I don't know, maybe like 5 seconds, just have a little joke that might hint at the flop or the glitches or the buggy issues that Unity had and stuff like that. I feel as if they did that, that'll be really cool to see, just like a little joke in there, some little top-notch banter referenced through that, a little bit of banter to Unity maybe, just, just how it fucked up and etc., how it thoroughly fucked up, not just fucked up, it thoroughly did it. So, who knows, maybe they'll reference to some of the lesser successes or failures of the Assassin's Creed game franchise through glitches and bugs and stuff, which Ubisoft is renowned for, or maybe they'll have Callum make a joke that they don't like computers or something like that. I don't know, like PC or whatever, because I feel as if they make those sort of jokes, they could sort of lighten the spirits of the things, and not in a way that they break the fourth wall, because that'll just create like loads of irritations, because they don't break the fourth wall, but just have like a little joke that people can relate back to Unity or something like that, and I think that'll be fun. But I don't really mind on that one. I just think that'll be really funny, and just it'll just be a nice little comic relief in a film that is otherwise going to be quite gritty, quite serious, maybe not brutal and stuff, which is, I don't understand why they've gone for a bigger audience with the younger people, like they've gone with PG-13 or whatever the American standard is, and I don't understand what that means, but we won't be seeing very much gore, so I suppose come the end it's not gonna be that brutal, that gory, so they're going to have some form of relief of stress and tension in there, and I feel as if making fun of itself in a very indirect way would be a good way of doing this without breaking the fourth wall and making the gamers laugh and maybe etc. Who knows? But that'll be a good way to sort of, I don't know. I don't know. That one really isn't what will make it great. That'll just make it quite entertaining for me, personally. Now, if they didn't do that, I wouldn't mind. But you guys are going to have to comment what you want to see to make the Assassin's Creed movie great, and I know I've expanded on quite a lot in this video, and it's been quite a long ride, and you've probably felt like, what the fuck have I been doing with the past 25 minutes-ish of my life? I've been wasting it doing this, watching this silly video of Fishy Yarpster talking about why the Assassin's Creed movie could be great and how, and I just butchered that saying, and I'm not going to edit it out because I am a badass, and if you think that you can stop me, then please eat my son. No, I don't have a child, so you can't really do that, but thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead and like, subscribe, share, comment, tell your friends about the channel as well, and be sure to, like I said before, subscribe, because we're approaching 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and we're currently at 3,551-ish last time I checked. So if you could subscribe, that would really help out the channel in a really colossal way, even if you don't realize it. So I'd really appreciate that. And be sure to go ahead and check out some of my other Assassin's Creed movie videos and Assassin's Creed Empire speculation videos, as well as some of my gameplay videos and streams as well. That would be really cool. And yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead and like, subscribe, share, comment down below what you think of the video, what you think of the points that I've made, what you want to see in the Assassin's Creed movie that you think will make it great, and things that have already been confirmed in the Assassin's Creed movie and how you think they could make it great. And I'll see you all in the next one with another video. So yeah.